Welcome back to another Nextlander podcast. Here you are, all intentionally invited to the chat. Here you go. We're going to talk about games, and you can feel free to participate or just sit back, and we're going to give out our game plans. And this is, I'm sorry, I'm just so worked up about trying to feel...
About what, Vinny? What's there to be worked up about these days?
I don't want to spend too much time getting into it. Alex Navarro, Brad Shoemaker, but it just feels like... Is gaslighting the right word? It just feels like this is people just lying out.
Yeah.
And it's just... I can't. I don't know.
I saw a comment yesterday.
We're talking about the signal stuff that's going on.
Just everything that's going on with our country right now. But the thing I saw was that, like, at a certain point, the thing we really have to confront is how much are we willing to let people just lie bald-faced, open over and over again to our face? Like, what is the actual consequence that we are going to try and impose on something like that? Because right now, it seems like there is none.
I mean, the prerequisite for answering that question is all of society needing to agree on what is and is not a lie.
Oh, boy.
That should be easy to figure out.
We are a very long way away from.
Yeah.
I guess what I really want to say is I feel so confused. And if you're listening to this and you feel like the world is upside down, maybe more so than ever, you're not alone. If you're feeling...
I'm not going to say ever, but in our lifetimes, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah, which is ever, because before I existed,
ever for
the world,
us.
Yeah, nothing ever existed.
Yeah.
The Signal people must be stoked.
I know. Look, I use Signal.
Talk about getting some visibility on their software.
There's also
maybe
a lot
not
of
the visibility you would
misinformation.
hope for.
There's also a lot of misinformation going around out there, being
Yes.
like, oh, they're using this commercial non-encrypted app, and I bet Signal's like, well, actually, we tried to encrypt end to end, and
all the people going like, oh, they used it on Russian Wi-Fi, and it's like that's I don't think you understand how end-to-end encryption works.
Yeah.
Also, I feel a little weird calling it commercial because I think isn't the Signal organization a nonprofit? Like,
I think commercial in the sense that it's not government.
Yes.
So anyway, I don't know.
I heard from the president that it could have been a bad signal. Maybe it was just a very bad signal. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, everything is computer these days, so it's really
you guys
hard to say.
It's like, look, the thing I need to express to folks out there is like, big hug. You're not alone. Let's come inside for a little bit.
We're all going to die.
In between just trying to work through some of that stuff and see what the hell's going on here. I played a lot of video games. We just did our Planorama. I feel like video games in terms of products coming out, I'm pretty happy actually.
Yeah,
like
strong year.
Yeah, like I've got some stuff that I am looking forward to playing in April when we did that Planorama. It's not
almost
up yet.
Makes up for everything else.
Yeah, not quite, but a lot of pleasant surprises on there. So at least I have a place to retreat to. And
you'll have some really good dirt to dig your head into.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you see this game Wildgate that got announced yesterday?
No, I don't think so.
You should go look up a trailer from it. It's some former Blizzard developers.
Okay.
The reason I bring it up is with our recent Void Crew craze. Which I really want to get back to Void Crew as soon as that update comes out, but like it seems like the spaceship game is maybe becoming a thing.
Wow.
This is another one of those. But it's like some high level Blizzard developers. It's like Dustin Browder, who I interviewed repeatedly for StarCraft 2 and is a super smart guy. Like people I remember from Blizzard are working on this, but it's full on another like fly your own spaceship and like board other people's spaceships and take their shit and that type of thing. It's
almost got like some Marauders vibes.
Yeah,
not as severe as Marauders.
I mean, it looks very World of Warcraft in the art style. It's very Blizzard, like colorful, cartoony Overwatch style graphics. Not so yes, like you said, not so brutal as Marauders, but like it seems like that genre is becoming a thing anyway. Just on the subject of like cool games coming out in 2025 and like cool trends happening, like that's another one.
There's another one of these. I can't remember the name that was recommended in our Discord that is in development. Another spaceship one that's like, hey, when this comes out, you guys should check this out too.
Was it Jump Ship?
I think it was Jump Ship.
Yeah. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I'm trying to switch gears in this would-be video game podcast to now focus in, to look inward. I also have to go on tomorrow in the afternoon, go do what has become, I think the last 3 years I've done it, the career day over at my kid's middle school, where, look, man, I'll ask you guys this question. I probably asked this before. Alex or Brad, is there anything in high school you did to prepare you for your current career? Because that's what these kids want to know. Middle school. I should say middle school. Okay. I'm sorry, Alex. What's the answer?
Quit high school.
Okay. Okay, fair. Yep. Okay, Brad?
I did not finish, or I did not quit high school, but I did spend as much of my time avoiding or minimizing schoolwork as I could to play with computers and video games.
So I think with these kids mostly, and again, it's not their fault. They're middle school kids, right? They I think they want to know, like, okay, what should I be taking? Like, what classes should I be looking at? Like, what extracurricular should I be doing? And I think I want to go. I think one of you mentioned this one time, or maybe it was straight from Norm. But it's that be an interesting person, right? Like that's what I hope I'm getting this right. I think that's what Adam Savage told the Tested guys when he took over. He basically said, like, hey, your job now is to be professionally interesting. Yeah.
And so, like, anything you can do to further that goal, like, is a valuable use of your time, whether it's watching a documentary or like ordering some parts and trying to solder some shit together, like whatever you do that feeds into. But they were in a creative content business. I guess that.
Well, so that's what I would say for this, right? Is like, I don't know, the amount I lean on my pop culture stuff that I was around when I was a teen for this job,
right,
is probably the most valuable. Like, hey, I can talk about Transformers or Gummy Bears or the games we played or like a shared history of music or something like that. I mean, that's kind of it. Put yourself out there, right?
Yeah,
like go to a concert, go do interesting, have cool stories to talk about if you want to get into this.
Or, like I remember like when we started at GameSpot, like there were people working there that had like biology degrees and stuff,
right.
It's like you can kind of pivot from anything to anything if you develop the right skill set, like try to be well-read, try to be like well-versed in a wide array of topics and competencies, like try to develop different skills and like who knows.
Yeah, and then maybe you bring that to a unique area within like video games or media, right? Or you're like, hey, what is a biologist's view of this game or thing? So I don't know. To me that's much more interesting than like, I don't know, I did track, like, right? Like I don't know. I was really into biology and then that didn't work out, and so I got an art degree, whatever it is, those kids are all great. But I find that format to be like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's a lot of, and also all of the people there are parents. And so they're kind of the same cohort of our age. And I just feel like the world's so different than when we all started careers and getting into things. It's like, look, I would love to tell you to go do this, but that avenue just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the stats that I see on the number of young people who are either trying to or are actively engaged in being influencers to make money.
Yeah.
And also the number of people that like under say 25 or whatever that hold crypto in some significant quantity is like, I wouldn't know how to dispense advice to people coming up in that world because it's like so alien to what I knew that
keep your crypto.
I don't know, man.
Oh man. I guess I should get some crypto and I got to talk to the kids about crypto.
I was reading something that said that like there's a very large percentage of young people, I don't know the exact percentage, so I'm not going to make any wild claims here, but that basically only have crypto holdings and do not have bank accounts.
Yeah, that's exactly the context that I was reading about that stuff in.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, these kids, I assume you still have to be 18 to have a crypto account and
I guess technically your parents could be buying you crypto instead of like building a college fund. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, I'll let you guys know how that career day stuff goes. I always feel a little weird when there are actual people who do actual jobs. They at least separate them out into like arts and humanities and put all the doctors and lawyers into a different room. So I don't have to be there and be like, oh yeah, I don't know, Dr. Smith here, just saving lives and putting new intestines and lungs in people. But I talked about Assassin's Creed for,
there you
half
go.
hour. I'm ripping out lungs left and right in Assassin's Creed. Let's talk about Assassin's Creed. Okay. I have thoughts. I'm about 35 hours into this Assassin's Creed.
You are way ahead of me. I'm like 15.
Well, I now have a Yasuke on my team, and so I can speak to that a bit. I think I'm not sure. I prefer playing as Naue so far. I think Yasuke is fun. Yasuke is fun when the thematic role playing works for me.
Right.
When Yasuke can walk into or charge through a door and just start tossing people around.
Yeah.
And it falls apart, which it kind of inevitably does in some of these bigger castles, where I get surrounded by about 7 guys and then have to go run away and hide in a bush as Yasuke. And and then I'm like,
this dude with this 6'5" guy with the biggest, pointiest armor in the world. Yeah.
And then hide in a bush and then be like, okay, I got to wait for it. And also, like, they do a very good job of differentiating his animations from Naue's. When he runs along a roof, he's very clumsy. He can't do certain things. He's not
a super climber the way that like the assassins are.
And when he does his leap of faith, he just falls into the hay and just like lands on his back and rolls out. Like, he cannot do that stuff.
Yeah, I saw there's like ropes that she can cross that he'll start crossing and then it'll break.
It'll just break. So, like, you get the idea that, look, this guy's a tank. He's he's a lovable doofus, like, with a big old club or a katana or whatever you're using. And it does kind of break when it feels like he's, like, creeping behind a little corner of, like, a little house, being like, oh, gosh, I wish. Oh, the other thing that's interesting, when he's got his, he has his form of assassination. They call it, like, a brutal assassination.
Yeah.
And he tells them to turn around first, because you get the sense that he is like, he's not going to stab somebody in the back, right? Or at least he does with the club. Like, that's the one I use mostly. He like whistles or taps him on the shoulder and then knocks their head
Is
off.
it like the big Kanobo club, like the one with the spikes on it that my D&D character carries around?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do they handle his characterization? And you're still playing the immersive mode, right? Like, do they just have him speak fluent Japanese, or?
I think he's supposed to know it in the fiction.
Okay,
so
yeah. The opening cutscene, like the illusion there is he knows more Japanese than the Portuguese even think he does.
Okay. Part of me asking that is because we're like halfway through Shogun now. Like, characters knowing Japanese or not is a big plot point there.
No, he is like 100%. I mean, it's I don't know what their source material is, but in the game, he's like 100% fluent.
Yeah.
So how I don't have him yet. I don't either. I'll get to where I'm at. I've been having a hard time advancing the story because I just want to go around taking over safe houses and raiding.
Yeah.
Like, them putting riches on the different locations on the map is really smart, because I just keep wanting to raid places that have a high riches rating go through there and tag all of their shit with my scouts to come collect so I can keep building up my base. Like, that whole loop is really fun.
So is the riches just how many supplies are in the base?
I think it's
or is
both.
it worth of it?
I think it's both chests you can loot that get you money and valuables and stuff, and also I assume it's both. It's also the like big pallets of supplies that your scouts can come pick up, I think.
It's just any sort of like pick upable thing.
I spent like an hour and a half in Osaka Castle, like clearing that whole place.
I did the same thing. I did Osaka. I've now cleared like 2 or 3 castles, and each one took me like an hour at least.
Like I need to. I usually I'm usually the opposite of this. I usually try to go push the story missions forward some, because they lock like so many mechanics up behind.
Yeah, and they still missions. Do here as well.
Yeah, so I really need to go deal with those first 2 actual targets and stop screwing around in the open world. But it's so much fun to just stealth through those places.
It's even to get Yasuke, I think you have to go into the 3rd target.
Yes, I just started the 3rd target quest line. I've taken out those first 2 targets they give you. I think part of the reason I'm with you, Brad, I have not been advancing the story that fast, and part of it is because I just don't think the story is super interesting so far. I think the setup for it is really good. I think the prologue is really good, but a lot of what has happened in the stories kind of since then has felt kind of disjointed and just not really that compelling so far. The running around, the just existing in the world, doing the content that they have laid out for you is a lot of fun. That's what's pushing me forward. I don't care that much about the narrative so far.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I'm kind of with you. It is a little bland. Like, I've done 2 or 3 of Naue's Kujikiri, like the little
the back
pray at the shrine, and then it does kind of like a like flashback mission with her father and stuff, and like those have been fine, but pretty bland.
I think those are better than some of the actual like current timeline story that's happening.
The side mission, the actual main story stuff.
Let me put it this way: when I went through that whole rigmarole with the executioner guy, the one that is the really nasty asshole that you go after, and you bring those monks into the fold, to go fight him, nothing about that narrative worked for me at all. Like the monk guy who was just like the second you meet him, he's like, I'm having a feud with my father, and just sort of like very plainly states what his character motivation is the second you meet him.
Yeah.
And then that Yaya character comes along, and she's cool, but like everything she does, it feels like there is a scene missing from like what her motivations are. Like they just skip over what seems like would be important dialogue to get you to the thing where she has a reaction to something.
I think I'm with you. Like for me, it's just very revenge quest. The whole thing is like, okay,
and not even that novel of one.
But all you got to do, look, I'm invested in being a ninja death machine,
totally.
And they're great at making you that.
Yeah, and so like, point me in the direction. I am a weapon, and like you point me at this castle. Nobody's leaving, right? Like that's my thing, and that's why I think I like
a lot of fun to play as.
Yeah. I mean, I actually like this is crazy. I never do this. I was actually trying to do like a non-lethal run through.
Oh, geez.
And that's largely because, again, like I said last week, I feel like they don't give you a good story justification for knocking off a lot of these locations. It's like I feel like just a couple lines of dialogue here and there would have made it a little more
like they're all corrupt.
Made me feel a little bit better about like, oh, these people are oppressing the local populace. They've got to go, or like. They're in league with Nobunaga, or you need their stuff to build up your network of spies or whatever. Like, just like enough justification to make me feel okay about killing civilians in there. But like, I actually was going through there just knocking everybody out.
That what you can do. I mean, they wake up and that's the thing. But like, I try not to. I tried for
servants.
A bit. Yeah, the level 1 scrubs. I tried not to like kill all them. But look, man. You're going to come stick your nose where it don't belong. You're going to get a blade up your nose.
Yeah.
Don't look around this corner. They do a very weird thing in the game. And, look, as we talk about this, we're not going to get into major spoilers, but we're just going to talk general,
just about what we've played so far, yeah.
And again, I think kind of, Alex, to your point, there's really not that much to spoil. But they do this thing, and I feel like this was in other modern Assassin's Creed games, where you do all this stuff, and then after you get the main meat of the story, after you start getting Yasuke and everything's on the table, it feels like they reset and they're like retutorializing you again. I'm getting the prompts, like I'm getting like
you mean like the Yasuke prompts?
No, even on that way, like, hey, did you know you can send supplies back to your base to upgrade it? And be like, I'm 25 hours in, man. Like, what? Yes,
that's a
of
little
course.
weird.
It is weird, and they introduce a wanted mechanic later on, where you're like, oh, right. Yeah, this makes way more sense because I'm doing all these castles and just walking out of there with a pile of bodies.
Yeah. And they say that the warlords like know who you are. Like there's at least one that you run into, I think right at the beginning of the mission I'm about to go on, where he's just like, yeah, we know what you're doing.
Yeah, there's a page on factions in the kind of codex tutorial section that says it's very vague, but it's like, oh, the various factions in this world have influence, and like your actions will affect blah blah blah, but they don't explain what that means in gameplay terms.
So you've probably seen it before, and I did in some of the castles. There are like big towers with bells on them, and and so after you get Yasuke, if you alert people, they'll ring the bell, and you'll have a wanted level in that territory. Which means all of the patrolling units will just attack you on sight as you're running around the countryside.
Is that like a persistent wanted level, or is it GTA style, just run away for 30 seconds and you're fine? Or is it like pervasive, like, hey, these people are going to remember who you are and attack on sight?
So from what I can tell, it lasts either through a season or it lasts until you send like 2 scouts to go remove the wanted level. So you can get rid of it pretty easy. I really only remove it, again, in my role-playing of the fiction, be like, there's no way Naoe would have a wanted level when she's going to do this castle. She's a ninja. Mm-hmm. She's super stealth. And like the other fiction is like Yasuke would never have a wanted level. He's a man of integrity, and he only bashes people's heads in that deserve it.
Right.
So I am enjoying it. I switch over to Yasuke. They introduce certain things too that only he can do. There are certain puzzles only he can do. Yeah,
a lot of obstacles and stuff. I've run across like doors that straight up just says you need Yasuke to get through here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're like barricaded doors that he can crash through because he's the fucking Kool-Aid man.
Right. Yeah. And there's certain things there, and I'll switch to him. But generally, I have found, and look, he is a motherfucking tank, that dude.
Again, they described him to me in that preview event as easy mode.
I've generally found that now I also, I just enjoy the stealthing part of it. It's an Assassin's Creed
Right, she
game.
feels like an Assassin's Creed character.
I've kind of been dreading the point where I have to switch to him, not because I don't want to play the character. Like I said, what I saw of him in the intro, his story seems way more interesting than hers, but it is the freedom of the grappling hook and like scaling straight up the side of Osaka Castle and all the like there's places where you can hang from the ceiling in there. I don't know if you've seen those.
Yeah,
like,
like little drums on the ceiling.
Like the ninja-ing of this game is so good and so much fun and freeing in terms of the parkour and the grappling hook and everything that I'm dreading having to give all that stuff up.
And she's got, you get the double assassinate eventually. You get the ability to just take people out very quickly. I finally figured out, if anybody's wondering, there's the chain with the ball and the hook on it, right? I forget what the actual name of it is.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they describe one of the moves where you can grapple somebody around the neck with it, I couldn't figure out for a long time. And it's like before hitting somebody with a stance attack, hold R2 or something.
Right.
It means you have to launch the attack and then hit R2 again and hold it. And that move is very cool. Like once you get like wrapple around their neck and swing them. The one thing I'll say about Yasuke that had my son and I just cracking up is he's got a big boot move.
Yes, he's got a big shitty kick.
He's got that can fucking yeet people. Like
okay.
You've done this you've played enough maps where you're up high on a castle.
Yeah.
I 100% have seen spots where I was trying to figure out with her. I was like, is there some way to knock this guy in this hole? Because
holy cow,
the positioning of this guy seems very conspicuous right next to this hole.
You send people flying off the map.
He's a big man.
In very, very fun ways.
All right, that sounds fun.
So like some of his moves are very fun. I don't mind switching to him once in a while, but really I really enjoy. I think it just controls well. Generally, it still controls kind of like an Assassin's Creed game where you're like you don't have to climb on this. I just want to run up to this person. You don't have to climb this pole over here. Oh god. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna get down.
Yeah.
Like some of that stuff.
How interchangeable are they? Like once
immediate.
The story has fully opened up, can you just switch between them whenever you want?
Whenever you want. You can't be in combat, I think.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, like just out in the world though, does it just fade down and back up with the other character? Okay.
You go into the inventory menu, you hold square, it says play as Yasuke, play as Naoe.
Okay.
You can also fast travel to a point as one of the characters, so you don't have to load in and then reload in, which is neat. Because there are certain things only he can do. Right. There are certain knowledge points only he can do.
Oh.
So like it opens up new ones. I think the knowledge point mastery stuff is interesting.
It's kind of neat. Like it's
kind of neat.
It seems like the knowledge points mostly come from non-combat stuff, so it kind of gives you a different thing to pursue. Like I did a big burial mound kind of dungeon sort of thing. Did you guys see that?
Oh yes, the Kufe. It's underground, and you just kind of
I can't remember the term for it, but yes. Is that something they repeat, or is that a one-off?
Yeah, I've done a couple of them,
okay.
And there's like a treasure chest at the end. You get through. It's a little puzzly, almost like a Tomb Raider.
It was like I kind of wish it had been a little more puzzly. It's pretty straightforward, just like swim through here, grapple over this. Like it's not a lot of mystery about what to do, but like it was still kind of a nice change of pace, and it was very like atmospheric.
Yeah, I haven't hit a ton of them. I hit like 2 or 3 of them. Look, that game reuses a lot of assets. A lot of those castles have exactly the same, like, I'm not saying they have the same layout, but once you're in a building, like the castle, you kind of like, where's the trapdoor on the top? Or like, where, I know I can go in here and hide here, or looking for the same stuff. It starts to repeat. I think it really is holding together for me just on not only how much fun I'm having being a ninja, but the upgrades in that tree are fun to get also. As you're like, you get a mastery point every time you kill a fucking samurai, and you're like, yeah, line them up. I'll kill these guys and get more experience points. So like, let's go. And then they
let you respec whenever you want, which
let you respec whenever you want.
I don't know if that's just a move generally in game design. Like Avowed is the same way of games just letting you respec for free as much as you want. Like I'm kind of all for it,
It's kind of a pointless exercise to limit that. Like, I think it's one of those things where you're just creating like artificial tension in that system that nobody really wants or cares about. Like, if you want to respec, you don't want to do a bunch of busy work just to make it so you can do that.
Yeah, unless it's like a From Software game or something where it's like, you know, the whole vibe of the design is making you live with your choices and resource scarcity and stuff like that. But in games like this that are more about just engaging with the systems and having fun, like just let people experiment.
Totally.
I haven't even respect yet because I feel like you just go get an experience point. Just go get a mastery point. Just go kill some more samurai. And so the only limiting factor is like some of those knowledge points where you're like, okay, there's nothing really left on these trees I want to just go get to the next knowledge level. So I'm just going to go seek out some of these other things. And that's not to say this game is like perfect for me. I like it a lot. Again, some of it's pretty repetitive in terms of run around, go do this outpost. The other thing is the loot. I think it's terrible. I think, I don't know if you guys are in the same boat, but if sounds like you are, if you're doing these castles, you probably have a bunch of legendaries, a bunch of common and uncommons, and like no rares or epics, right? Or like very few.
Oh,
like
are there?
Yeah.
Right. All I have, I mean, I'm nowhere near as far. I'm like 10, 12 hours in. Like all I've got are commons and are they called legendaries or uniques or what are they? Like,
whatever the highest, the gold tier, whatever.
That's all I have. I have both the lowest tier and the highest tier and nothing in between.
I have some greens and I think I have one or two purples, but other than that, yeah, you're right. It is definitely skewed more at the top and the bottom.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's tied to level. Like as you level, you'll get more greens and stuff. I don't know.
Hard to say.
I'm like level 30-ish and like
maybe not then.
And like I just have because I don't use anything but the top tier stuff because it has the best perks on it, right? And it's so cheap to level that stuff up at the forge.
Can you upgrade weapons forever though?
You do need certain resources, I think, to do it, don't you?
Seems I have, you need gold and whatever resources, but if you're doing these castles and you'll
find that stuff.
You're getting that stuff.
I still don't think they figured out the loot in this game. I think they still have not quite found a loot system that feels completely right for what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I don't mind it in principle, but they are laying it on way too thick. Like I'm not even that far into the game. I'm still in the first zone, and I've got like some of the categories like swords and headgear and stuff. I've probably got 10 or 12 items in my inventory right now. Like it's a lot.
And I think I would say from my experience playing it so far, breaking them down does not seem worth it. I just sell it now.
Yeah, I just sell.
Because you get like, I don't know, 5 or 10 or whatever. It depends on the level of the resource back. And you're finding bundles of that stuff all over the place. Not that the money has been a big deal. I have
I have 20,000 tons of money regardless.
Mon.
Yeah.
And I should say gold is different than is it Mon? I forget
Mon, Mon. Yeah. But so Mon is the currency, gold is a resource.
Yeah. I haven't had to use a gold nugget yet. I have gotten a couple of those codex. Oh, not codex things. The animus shard things in the world. Did you get any of those for your battle pass?
Yeah, I've got one of those. I don't know. Like, look, again, the thing I love about this game is the core thing of being a fucking ninja in the Assassin's Creed universe. Yeah. I think in the open world template that they have kind of built over the last several years, doing that shit in feudal Japan is every bit as enjoyable as everyone said it would be like 17 years ago when someone first came up with that idea.
Yeah. And also, and again, on top of it, I know we said it last week, but I still can't believe how good that game looks and just like how well rendered that world is. Like the weather effects are so good when a storm, like a thunderstorm whips up or when the
snow effects are great.
Sun is setting. Yeah. Like, I mean, I even, like apparently the snow melts in real time, which like I love weird little simulation details like that. Like the world just feels so good to look at and roam around in. Although there are like broad stretches of that map with kind of nothing in them. Like
or just like dense foliage.
Yeah, like it's either literally impassable as in you like slide back down the mountain or can't get through some trees, or B, there's just nothing there even if you can explore it. Like you climb a lookout and get all the icons on the map, and maybe this changes, you tell me, but like in my experience, the icons you find from the lookout, that's what there is to do out there. Like in between those icons, there's nothing. Yeah. Like there might be occasionally there's a little randomly generated like on the side of the road, like a nobleman being hassled by some Ronin, and you can
or a shrine to pray to or something like that.
Yeah, like you can like kill the Ronin and then the person will like do you a favor or whatever. Like there is occasionally, but like when I've gone off
it's very rinse and repeat.
Yeah, totally. But when I've gone off the trails and like really just wanted to be like, I just want to see what's up there, what's up that hill and in those woods, the answer is typically nothing. Like it's just scenery, and then you move on to the next icon.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only other thing maybe that's out there are those the paintings or the brush.
Oh yeah,
paintings.
the like the watercolor stuff.
Yeah, the animal the animal art that you got to sneak up on. But yeah, you're right. It's like and I think I don't know if you've realized this, but when you're on top of that lookout, you don't actually have to look around to make.
Oh, I know. It all just opens up on the map, but I just like to look for like my own purposes of just seeing. Okay, how far away is that?
I wish there was more of a mechanic to that, because I really, that's something I really like from State of Decay, is having to go up and in that game you do have to survey the icons to try to identify what's what out there, and I kind of wish they had done more of that. Same
here. Like I wish you had to just scan to get even the question marks to have them pop up on your map. Because that game is beautiful, and you should spend more time up there. And they do that. They always do that panoramic animation, and like just don't do that and make me look around, and we'll trade off. And then make it
the panoramic animation, to be fair, is like half the reason people play these games.
It's real good. Like the sight lines in that game also are incredible. Like I've been on practically on the other side of that first zone, and if you get up on high enough hill, like you can see all the way to the coast to where Osaka is with the harbor and everything. Like, you can just see for miles in that game. It's pretty impressive.
And it's cool at night, like the lanterns all go up, and it's very pretty. I do think, again, just some of the reused stuff, it's a big map with a lot of territories. I thought this is a part I never liked about the modern Assassin's Creeds, but it doesn't bother me as much here. I think just because I like the mechanics of the play, but the level stuff where you're like, oh, I'm in too high a zone, right? Like that stuff always bothered me with leveled characters. Like, what the hell, man? That's too myth breaking to me. Like, like why is this character, not because it's a particular type of character, because it just happens to be a level 30 thug, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me so much here, probably because I'm just chewing through levels so fucking fast.
Yeah.
I think fast, like I'm 35 hours in, but I think it's fast. And I think it's fast because if you want to gain a level, just go to a castle.
There are 1,000 things on this map you can go do to go gain some levels.
Yeah. Like go get a mastery point. It happens again, for me quickly. Some people would be like, dude, you're 35 hours in.
Yeah.
You haven't really advanced the story that much. But for me, it feels like I'm able to play the game how I want to play it on my terms and kind of meet it halfway. So
I'll just say, for my part, as someone who spent 108 hours playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you will come to a point where you realize there is nothing new for you to ever see. Like, I'm not saying that there aren't new question marks to go look at or anything like that, but you will hit a point where there is just no new type of thing, and all you are finding are new variations on the same thing. Do not allow yourself to be distracted endlessly by those things, because that's how you spend 108 hours in a game that should be finished in 40 or 50.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I will say that, and I didn't play Valhalla, but my sense from watching people talk about comparing this game to Valhalla is that it seems like Valhalla was like maybe the worst offender in this regard. Like I really get the sense that game is just icon game, the game.
Like a third of what you are going to find on that map is bandit camps.
Right.
That's it.
This one I play, and when I start to like hit the point where Brad, you said, where it's like, oh man, this ability is locked behind, progress further in the story, then I'm like, okay, I'll go progress. Or when I'm just like, let's go murder a big guy. Let's go take out one of these big things.
I'm always saying that.
Yeah. But sometimes sometimes I find like, I don't want to fucking go through all the rigmarole of setting up this assassination. I just want to go into drop into a castle and ninja some shit up, right?
Hell yeah.
I just want to turn a corner, stab a guy in the neck, like run, jump off a thing. Like the mechanics of doing that, like I said before, just haven't felt that good to me in a while with one of these games. So yeah, just still enjoying it. Really excited to keep going. I'm also I'll mention it here because I didn't get too much of it. The other game I was talking about before I'm like in a really good place with like spending time playing games. Avowed, like I just want to get back in there. Like
yes, that game's on. I guess that by necessity that game is kind of on my back burner right now. But I really want to get through the rest of that.
Yeah, I think this has my attention right now, like a lot. And like I just keep thinking about like, maybe I should go play Avowed and be like, I'm like so close to just getting this whatever in Assassin's Creed. So we'll see what happens. My hope is I like playing these games and I want to be above the power curve. Like I like to be over leveled in these games and have things feel kind of trivial and easy in certain spots.
See, I'm the opposite. I kind of always want things to be a little bit harder than I can deal with, or like I like these zones that are too high level for you, just because it feels like there's some unexpected danger you could wander into. Now you could argue they should not put the level requirements on the fucking map. That's how Breath of the Wild handles it. Like they don't make it obvious. Like, hey, the zone right north of where you start,
it's kind of lame,
is going to beat the shit out of you. But you have to wander in there and get the shit beaten out of you to figure that out, you know. And in this game, it's just like, oh, that's a level 35 zone. I guess I'm just not going there.
Even Avowed is very similar, right? Where it's just like suddenly you wander into a bunch of skull things, and you're like, oh, yeah, this is, and you know, those all scale with your level, so it's like, oh, this is always going to be a certain level above or below you up to a point, I think, and where then you just start increasing. But like I said with Yasuke works best for me when I feel like he is just a wrecking ball inside of a castle and works or in a cool 1-on-1 or 1-on-2 fight. But when he's surrounded by like 7 moderately dangerous people and I'm like, oh, I'm just getting hit in the back or somebody's shooting me with a gun, like I got to retreat and I got to go hide for a little bit and then I'll try and pick up. Like that character doesn't work as well for me in those situations. I like when he's just plastering people up against the wall. All right. We move on from Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, you guys have convinced me to just mainline the story for a while and probably pop off those first 2 targets and just like I'm going to burn out on this game if I keep just doing the side stuff constantly. Yeah. Like when I unlocked hideouts and saw the contract stuff, which I assume are repeatable, the contracts renew at the end of a season.
Yeah,
But are they also per hideout? Like, does every hideout have its own set of contracts?
It might be per region. Okay, because you get the hideouts in the region, right? So I think I just buy them when I'm in there, and then I just kind of like, if I'm passing by one, I'll maybe do it.
But I saw that list pop up and I was like, that's so many resources I could go get right now. And then I had to stop myself. I was like, I'm going to burn out hard on this game if I just keep grinding resources. Because then you're going to build your whole base up and then have nothing to do for the whole back 2/3 of the game, right? If you mainline building all the, I don't know, maybe the resource requirements get really high in the base.
They get okay, but I think it depends how you want. Like, again, I like to be ahead of that curve where it's just like, oh man, like I've got 7 scouts and like, you know, because I upgraded the scout thing in the base, or like, what is one? Oh, there's like an get extra XP thing you can upgrade in the base. I'm like, oh, sick. Yes, of course. I'm just gonna not play until I get that. That's how I like to do it, because again, I like to just be like, I'm a death machine. I should never struggle with anything, unless it's a boss fight in which, you know, they'll be like, you can't use your ninja tricks. Mm-hmm. One other disappointment with this game, there's a lot of things I like. I don't have a great use for the ninja stars. Like, I feel like they're too weak. They're just the kunai, is that the throwable? Yeah.
Throwing knives.
So much better. Obviously, you get fewer of them. I'm just not stunning people with the stars. Like, I blow up barrels with them once in a while, but like, I don't know. I want an upgrade, and I look down the tree. I just want that upgrade where you're just like whip, like 3 of them, and then 3 guys go down. You know, maybe we'll get there. I saw there's a couple of upgrades where you can like launch them out during a flip or like some other thing, but maybe that's too much of the myth of the ninja star. They have a range on them. It's fun. Anyway, fun game, enjoying it. That's Assassin's Creed for this week, I think. We'll take a quick break, come back, talk about some other games. Turn the page. All right, stick around. We'll be right back. And we are back. And some other games we have played. We played, Brad, you had played this last week and talked about it, but we played it on stream. 33 Immortals.
Yeah, game's rad, right?
That game's rad. Yeah. I had a lot of fun playing it. The upgrade loop in it is very satisfying. Mm-hmm. It's the game where you got 33 people go into a dungeon and then can kind of do whatever they want, though really encourages grouping up together.
Oh yeah.
And we played with Will, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I saw people in the chat, especially during that boss fight at the end, but even just generally, people going like, oh wow, this really is just like a WoW raid, you know, in terms of positioning and having to work together, and like, you know, the enemies being overwhelming on your own and having to get back up to do stuff. Like,
I think clearly squads, or not clearly, in my opinion of the limited time I played with it, squads of 3 seem totally reasonable because the abilities that you can pop require 3 people, and that seems like it's designed for at least rolling around with 3, though one of the abilities is 2, right? I think like the rogue's knives, or is it 2? It's cool. Like there's a resurrection mechanic in there that seems pretty forgiving for parties. If you're in a group and you're partied up, you can freely resurrect a downed and out member of your party for not any resource, right? It was free.
Yeah, but you come back with like what 25% of your health bar.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Capped.
Yeah.
Then you can spend some like pretty rare currency to get more of your health bar back, but that's only once, because the second time you die, you're out for good.
Oh, I mean the party res, the at the crystal.
Yes.
Yeah. But same thing, like you still are you're in a very vulnerable state for the rest of that match. And you cannot do that during a boss fight. If you get creamed, you're out. But yeah, I think the weapon, I was mostly playing the sword and the wand, which I liked both of those. I thought they were both interesting mechanics. The sword has a parry mechanic, and the wand or scepter or whatever it is has a slow down the baddies.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the ranged ones have a little bit of an advantage, at least a survivability advantage later in the match. Like the sword was the first time I had tried the sword on that stream.
Yeah.
Like you have to be in the shit because it's a sword. You have to be right in the middle of the enemies to hit them.
Decent range.
It's got decent range, but especially that parry mechanic. I mean, they lay it on so thick in the last 5 minutes of a run or whatever when you get to those ascension events at the end right before the boss.
Yeah.
To the point that like it gets pretty hard to look at the tells for when you need to parry the enemies that are about to hit you as the sword character, because there are so many different things piled up on top of each other right in front of you that, like, you know, maybe it's my mid-40s brain is no longer capable of keeping up with this stuff, but like it's really hard to look for like, oh, this guy's about to hit you, you need to parry, when there are 8 other attacks and enemies coming at you all at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. Like so basically you get like, I don't know, you got like a 5-second window where you can hold it down, which is generous. You'd think is generous to hold down this parry. But the enemies, when they attack, they not only have an animation, but they'll basically project their attack line in red, I guess it is.
If it's a ranged attack, yeah.
Yeah. Or even a melee thing. They'll
some
like
of melees as well.
And so the problem is, I think you can only parry one of those attacks, and then suddenly they're stacked like 4 attacks on top of each other, where you just have to get out. The other thing with the sword, which I was kind of glad I started with it, is you really have to break your brain to stop dodging out of the way. Yeah. Because all the other characters, you just dodge the heck out of the way to avoid getting hit. And it's hard not to, like at some point, especially I assume if you've trained your reflexes to just get out of the way. You kind of have to stand there and hit that other button, the Y button, which is a weird button to have as your parry in most games, but it's the way they map other stuff in it. But
yeah, I mean, it's even harder because you still have to dodge sometimes as the sword character, because you're burning the meter that you build up with regular attacks to parry, and so you can't parry forever when that meter fills or empties. So you still have to dodge sometimes. It's a lot of management.
Or if the attacks are overlapping and you're like, I can parry one, but I'm going to get hit by the second one. Yeah, it's or certain things where I think like a pit of fire, you're not going to be able to parry.
Yeah,
but a lot of fun.
Yeah, the thing on that stream I really got into was just the meta progression loop in the hub, you know, between runs when you go back and cash stuff in, like unlocking more perks, upgrading the perks, getting more types of relics, which are the little trinkets that drop during runs that make you better healing and better crits and all that stuff. Like there's so much of that to unlock in between runs, and there's so many challenges on each weapon and for co-op activities and stuff. Like like you said, the loop of slowly getting better stuff in between runs is super addictive.
Yeah, and reward and fast enough and rewarding enough, I think, to keep you being like, let's just go another one.
Like every run, you're coming out of there with stuff to unlock.
Yeah. So yeah, 33 Immortals, still in early access. I think that game still. I'll be curious to see where it develops. You know, if they add more things in, more weapons, more perks, more. Maybe they'll add in different levels. I don't know, different levels of hell.
I mean, also we beat a boss. Like we should say, we beat the first map's boss, which gets you keys for the second map, which is only 22 Immortals instead of 33.
Yes, and then there's it's Purgatorio, right? It's the second map.
Yeah, and then the third map is not even in the game yet, which is only 11 players.
Right.
But that second map was like, we were like, oh, we got keys for the second map. Let's go check it out. And like lasted like 5 minutes in there, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think we were ready for that.
Second map is very hard, so you're going to have to do a lot of upgrading.
Yeah, and I got lucky on one of our runs. You get these relics in the run. You can get a relic, or multiple relics. And I just feel like the build I had with that health regen and all that was like, I was feeling pretty confident with that, with being able to just like run around for a bit, get my health back, and get back into a fight. So good impression, 33 Immortals, a lot of fun. And that's out early access now, $20 if you don't have Game Pass. You can get in on that. I think it's on Epic in game preview or early access.
Yes.
Check it out there. All right, let's move on. Brad, you played a little Atomfall?
Yeah, I've dabbled with Rebellion's Atomfall a little bit. Rebellion, perhaps you've heard of them.
They're calling it one of the most British games ever.
The game is very British. It's like an open world sort of crafting survival RPG, I guess I would call it. It's it's a bit Fallout-ish, except like no RPG stuff, no stats, no experience points and levels. All of the upgrades are like finding better crafting recipes, so making more stuff. And there is a skill tree, but you have to find items to get skill points as well. So there's no like leveling, is what I'm trying to say. But other than that, it is very much explore this open world. Go through dialogue trees with characters that you find, stuff like that. I don't know.
So
when
not
it's
like
set.
a Stalker or like
not real. Well, I don't know. Well, I've not played enough Stalker to say.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't have either, really.
Well,
it just it had a vibe when I was looking at it.
Yeah, I played a little Stalker too. I mean, again, there's not like, you don't have like a character sheet where you're equipping stuff into different slots. All you have is like a 4-way quick select where you can put guns or melee weapons or other stuff in. I found a metal detector, which is cool.
Okay.
I've not actually detected any metal with it yet, though.
Are you building, like, do your weapons have durability where you have
not that I've seen. I found 3 rusty revolvers. I think rusty might be like a tier, like a quality tier. I'm guessing that at some point I will craft the stuff to make those pistols less rusty, if I had to guess.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure. I don't think they break, though. I have not seen a durability thing.
Is there, I guess, if I'm just going to be cut right to the chase, is there a thing in your time that you've played of it that you're like, oh, this is cool and new and fresh?
Kind of like the way it handles like quest leads is kind of interesting. So like your map has full on latitude and longitude on it. And a lot of the quest stuff you find, the leads actually are just coordinates. So there's been multiple cases now where they don't mark something on your map and I have to actually look at the coordinates in the quest text and like triangulate on the map where that is.
That's cool.
And go find it, which is like, it does not hold your nose and lead you to literally everything on the map, which is kind of cool.
Is it combat focused?
It's also unique in that respect but the combat's weird. Like there are outlaws roaming around in the world. I guess I should say what the setting is. It's set in England, kind of in the shadow of a real life nuclear facility.
Okay.
Except
there was
in
a
this
fire at a real life nuclear facility, I believe.
So was that a real disaster?
That's a real disaster that happened, but it did not result in obviously what happens in this game. This is like an alternate history version of it.
Because in this game it's full on like Half-Life style. There's like a giant twisting energy vortex reaching into the sky out of this nuclear plant, and there's like irradiated mutants in the bunkers nearby and stuff like that. In the open world, there are outlaws that roam around, and it's interesting because like the way they handle stealth is that the enemies like see you and acknowledge you, but will not attack you even when they've spotted you unless you threaten them.
Okay.
It's interesting. It's like, I guess it's kind of a way of getting around that stealth contrivance of like, oh, you walk 20 feet in front of a guy, but because his meter did not go fully from yellow to red, he doesn't know you're there, right? Like in this case, like the enemies, the second they make eye contact with you, they start yelling at you.
Like, get out of here?
Yes, or in some cases, it's not even that aggressive. In some cases, it's like, hey, there doesn't need to be any trouble here. Just move along.
All right.
It's like kind of interesting, actually, that the game like tutorializes this right off the bat. It's like enemies will spot you, but like they might not go at you unless you really get in their face. And sure enough, like unless you continue to like approach people after they've spotted you, they're fine to just let you go on your way. That said, I then randomly stumbled into the kind of like home camp of these outlaws.
And
every fucking outlaw on the entire map I was on, not even just in that camp, but everywhere I went was just shoot on sight at that point.
He blew it.
And there was no getting out of that. It was just like a weird turn on a dime thing.
Yeah.
And the mutants, the like radioactive mutants in the bunkers I found also just fucking kill you in 2 or 3 hits.
Okay.
And they're pretty hard to take down. I don't have a lot of ammo yet, and they kind of jump at you in a way that I will miss a shotgun shot here and there. And if you miss taking them down before they get on you, you're basically dead. So like it's pretty tough on the default like recommended difficulty.
Is it like a quick save kind of? You just reload a checkpoint?
It auto saves pretty frequently, and you can hard save whenever you want. So I haven't lost too much progress, but it's got some like interesting balancing on the stealth and combat.
It's just a weird thing to, I think, to express, but does it feel loose like a Bethesda game? You know, does it?
Not at all. No, it feels everything just works like it's supposed to.
Okay, I wasn't going to say broken, but you know,
I know what you mean.
Bethesda games have that looseness where,
No. This just feels like a fully functional video game. But again, like just some of the combat balancing is like harsh to the point that like there's definitely been spots where I was like, am I supposed to be doing better at shooting these mutants than I am, or is it the thing where I shouldn't be in this bunker right now?
Right. Which again, like we just talked about with Assassin's Creed, is like sometimes a more interesting way to do it. But it's like, I'll just come back here when I'm ready.
Yeah, and like I said, the progression is pretty much all crafting based in this, except for finding skill point items in the world. But basically, it's probably more like, I need to craft better weapons, which I have not found recipes for yet, and that kind of thing.
Is there melee?
Yeah. There's all kinds of knives and hatchets and bats and stuff. There's like bleed effect and everything. So it's kind of like walking the line between a crafting game and a like traditional RPG. And like I said, lots of characters to meet with different branching dialogue trees and bartering and stuff like that.
Can you craft out of your inventory, or do you need a bench?
Yeah, you can do it anywhere.
Great.
But I have not found many recipes yet, so I've not actually done a lot of crafting.
Okay.
I kind of feel like I should be establishing a home base somewhere, but that has not happened at all. So I don't know if there is one or not. It seems like it's like relatively small in scope. I mean, it's a fully realized game, but like looking at the number of maps, I think there's like 5 maps in the game, and I've been on 2 of them already.
Okay.
So like it seems like a good size game, but not an overwhelming, like it's not a 60-hour thing or anything like that. And it's only $50 on PC. And 60 on console, so it's like kind of slightly sub full price.
Right. In that range.
Yeah, but it's got some neat ideas so far. And again, it's super British. Like having watched Brazil recently, there's some like government propaganda posters and stuff up around that very much feel like out of that movie.
And is it also on Game Pass?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I should say not also. Assassin's Creed is not on Game Pass, but Immortals was.
It will be on Game Pass. Roughly by the time you hear this podcast.
It's the 27th that comes out.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's neat. I mean, if you've got Game Pass, it's worth a look and see if it grabs you. Because like I said, the focus on crafting and the use of the map and everything feel like slightly different from other games like this.
Atomfall, also on PlayStation and PC. Like you said, $50 on PC, $60 on console, and coming to Game Pass the 27th. Let's see what else is going on here. I finished up Split Fiction. I think that game is very good. I really like it. I think it holds together. We had talked about it previously about, man, it really feels like it will be tested by whether it can keep its variety up in these vignettes in these sections. I think it does for the most part. And so great game. Like, I think it's probably more demanding than you might expect from like sitting down and maybe playing with a partner that doesn't play video games a lot. It gets pretty actiony and pretty demanding in ways.
I remember It Takes Two also being kind of demanding in places as well. I mean, some of that platforming could get pretty hard.
Yeah, this gets pretty actiony. It's not punishing by any means, but it definitely gets
difficult, but not punishing necessarily.
More difficult, and very actiony.
I kind of feel like we should I had a news story for this. We should just talk about that now because it's exactly what you're talking about. That apparently there's like a crazy hard platforming challenge in this game.
There is.
I never saw that.
Did you not find it?
I saw the part that they were at, and I just went. There's a part where there's like a laser grid on the floor, Mission Impossible style, like of these lasers that are spinning, and you just go down that part. I did not go over that circle on the ground and to the platforms.
So does the game make it clear that you could do that and that there's a challenge there, or is it just something you didn't even know was there?
I didn't even know it was there.
Interesting.
There might be more hidden stuff in that game. Like they telegraph the side missions, the capital S side missions.
Like but you have to warp into those, right?
Yeah, and they call them out constantly when you're new. There's another side story. Yeah, but this is just a secret room.
Yeah, I guess they call it the Laser Hell Challenge.
Yeah,
it looks nasty.
Yeah, which I mean, I feel like we've given Josef Fares some like maybe relatively deserved shit here for his public persona off and on, but this is like some full on Willy Wonka shit that's actually like kind of cool.
It's extremely charming, actually.
I think this is funny.
Like the question I have, well, okay, so what happened is the first two, as far as we know, the first two players in the world to finish that challenge,
or at least publicly exposed that they finished.
Yeah, and that's my question about it. But as far as we know, at least the first two people to make known, like in video form with evidence that they finished it, have shown a straight up video of him in the game world just pops the second you finish that challenge.
From clapping.
And it's him clapping and full on going like, this is amazing that you did this. Like, there's hardly anybody here at the developer who can beat this challenge. By the way, we're going to fly you to the studio in Sweden to show you our next game.
Basically, yeah, essentially he says, like, if you can show me, if you see me on the street, because it's a video that's pre-recorded, if you could see me on the street and show me proof that you beat this, I will fly you. If you're the first person to do that, I will fly you to our studio to show you what we're working on. And I guess that clip made its way to him of them streaming this.
Yeah.
And he made good.
Yeah, like he has come out since and said, yes, we are going to fly these two people to Hazelight to see our next game and some other stuff. The weird thing to me is they didn't just like build a check into the game, though. It's like, I would think they would build something in that would notify them in the studio with like very tangibly, you know, like incontrovertibly, like, you know, like wire it up to like, it's like the type of thing Dave Snyder would have done with the red phone or whatever, wire it up to a server with a giant like flashing klaxon on the top of it, you know, and it's like, well, shit, somebody did it. The light's going off, you know.
Right.
It sounds more. It's like it's an honor system, you know, like they were just waiting for somebody to send a video in or something.
Should have immediately you should have two videos installed with that game, and if there's a flag that nobody has gotten that thing, you can see that video, and if somebody's gotten it, and be like, you're among the many who've gotten here. But you know, and then you have to play offline to get the original. Never put your console online so you can get the original video.
Right.
But I think that's
neat. That's a cool idea.
Some people in the Discord had actually linked some other Fares stuff that made him seem like socially like a very nice person who.
Oh yeah. I fully believe it.
It's just like his stage presence.
It's just the on stage act at the Game Awards cringy. is a little thick. But I think I said before, like when it was earnest before it had become his persona, I thought it was totally fine. It's just now that they are, and maybe this is Keeley's fault as much as his, like the fact that they're leaning that hard into it.
Yeah.
A little bit much.
It's sometimes feels a little contrived or like a little, a little cringe.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, like this is like kind of Ready Player One made real type stuff, right? Or Willy Wonka, just full on. You did it. You're going to the place.
The vibe of it had a real like, look, this was really hard, man. Yeah. Like good for you, and like you should be rewarded for this, and we'll foot the bill.
Maybe that's why they didn't put the big like klaxon in there, is because they knew if one person managed to do this, they would have enough time to send in a video, because not that many people were going to beat this right out of the gate.
Sure.
Yeah. It's neat.
It's a cool idea. Good on them.
Good on them, and good on them for making do and not like some weird like, well, you know, we'll see what happens. I guess we will see what happens. I think there were 2 streamers or players out of China. I think was the story. So yeah, Split Fiction I think is actually a really great game. I played it through with my kids. They got it. But I think my son more than my daughter was enjoying the action stuff, where my daughter was a little bit more of like bummed out when things got really ratcheted up to be like, okay, all right, don't worry, we'll get through this. But fun game. This and story wise, like it's all right. It's okay. It's a little corny. Or maybe a little more than a little corny, but it's fine.
Look, is it unbearable?
No.
Okay, then it's an improvement.
Yeah, right.
Then they have made some forward progress, because that was the problem with It Takes Two. It was fucking unbearable.
Yeah, there are some moments where you're just like,
okay, I can live with that. Yeah, as long as there's forward momentum, I'm good with that.
All right. Looking through the list here. Before we get to this other bit, Alex Hill. Alex Hill Whispers at White Oak Inn is the name of the game. Played some of that with Abby Russell recently. It is a Nancy Drew like.
I mean, look, it's just new Nancy Drew.
It's new Nancy Drew.
It's new Nancy Drew, but with none of the licensing.
This game came out. It's probably worth just specifically mentioning early in March, a couple of weeks ago, 2025. But this game has Nancy Drew vibes. You know,
this
we'll see
has
how
1990s Nancy Drew vibes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But if you are looking for one of those games, this seems to be doing it or going after it.
After consulting our Nancy Drew expert, which is Abby Russell, my understanding is that the current crop of Nancy Drew games just aren't doing it for people the way they used to. They aren't hitting the way they used to.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a return to form. I don't know.
Am I loving it? It's fun. It's fun to do with you guys.
It's goofy.
Yeah, it's goofy. All right. That's Alex Hill, Whispers at White Oak Inn. Brad Shoemaker, you got to get hands-on with a bit of Revenge of the Savage Planet.
Yeah, played that at that Xbox event at GDC last week. It was embargoed until now.
Okay.
Did you guys play Journey to the Savage Planet?
I don't think I
did. I liked that game.
I need to look it up.
If I did, I did not play a lot of it.
One of the very few, if not maybe the only game that Google put out under the Stadia name.
Then I'm pretty sure I didn't.
But it came out on everything. Like it came out on, I think I played it on PS4. It's kind of like a lighthearted, colorful first-person alien planet exploration game.
Yeah,
it actually kind of gave me a lot of Metroid Prime vibes because it's a first-person game where you scan stuff constantly, and there's a lot of platforming and exploration.
I feel like I either watched somebody play or played it. You know, when I just was watching it, there was that other game with the talking gun that had a similar colorful vibe. With the one of the people from Rick and Morty.
Shadows of the Damned?
No. Remember one of the people from Rick and Morty was voicing the guns.
The Rick and Morty guy was all over that thing. Yeah, okay.
I forget the name, but the graphically had like a similar palette to some of this stuff. I think I was confusing it with
High on Life.
High on Life. That's right.
Yes. That is not this.
Probably to their benefit for several reasons.
Yeah. What'd you think of this? Should I go back and play Journey?
The first one, I liked it. I didn't play a super ton of it. I played enough to like do a quick look and then some, but
okay.
I found it pretty enjoyable. It was fun to just roam around and explore and find weird alien shit to play with.
Yeah. I'm looking at a thing now where there's a cool grappling hook sequence.
Yeah.
That looks fun.
So anyway, I played they're doing a new one, Revenge of the Savage Planet, which is I guess the detail I should fill in here is that Google bought the developer that made that game, they shipped that game, and then they immediately shut the developer down.
Okay.
So this is actually like a lot of, like, I think it's like half of the team of the original game have bought the IP back from Google and reformed a new studio and are making a sequel now.
With not so kind things to say about how things went with Stadia, right?
Yeah.
What a shocker.
Yeah, they put up that billboard at GDC.
Right, yeah. I mean, look, that's messed up. How that went down.
But the biggest difference is it's third person now, and it's more co-op focused. Did you see if the first one had co-op? I only played it by myself. I don't remember.
Online co-op, it says.
It did the first one?
Steam listing, but
okay. Seems like maybe they're leaning into the co-op stuff a little more with 2. I only played it by myself. There was nobody else playing the demo with me at the same time.
Okay.
But it seems more like focused on, it's third person, so you're going to do a lot more equipping cosmetic spacesuit stuff and doing emotes and things like that, but with friends, but still very much that same kind of game of just roam around, upgrade weird alien technology to get better gliding and jumping and swinging type tools. And they said it was like a pretty systemic game, a lot of effects in there for like things that like make the ground slippery, so you're slipping around, you know what I'm trying to say. Slipping around all over the place, like a lot of physics, stuff like that. I did not play a ton of it. I played like 15-20 minutes just to kind of roam around the environment. It feels very much like another one of those games like the first one, but third person now.
Do you know if it has anything to do with the first one aside from the planet? Like,
I think it's the same shitty corporation that you're working for and stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. Or might be a new corporation, I don't know, but I think it's very much in that same universe, same like corporate satire of Amazon type stuff.
And so this is a little in the weeds, and if it's like, feel free to say, oh, no idea. But so Typhoon was the developer at Stadia, and then this is Raccoon Logic, but they got the rights to the IP?
They bought the IP back,
okay,
and it's like half of the original team that made the first game is back for this one.
Okay,
that's what they said.
Cool. I like third person as well.
Yeah,
give me a third person, Metroidvania-ish still.
Yeah, looks like I bet it would be a fun like family get together and roam around in this world and just screw around doing weird alien shit type of game.
Yeah, this one on their Steam page says split screen co-op.
Okay then.
Yeah, we'll see how that all works out. Revenge, not Return. Revenge of the Shadow Planet.
Savage Planet, not Shadow Planet.
That's something else.
There's too many different planets out there. That is May 8th listed on Steam here, so a little ways out. Not that
a few
long.
Weeks.
Yeah. That it for the games?
Think so.
Look, we are about, I'm going to check my watch, like a week away from some Switch news. Some real, legit Switch news.
We hope.
We're almost done with the speculation, we think.
And so possibly some more games coming out for whatever the Switch 2 is. We're going to get to this in the news section, so don't worry after the break here. But
one more wild speculation here before we get into the real stuff.
But I feel like I just want to mark the time of pre-Switch 2. We're in a pre-Switch 2 announcement world with the video games, because I have no idea what's going to happen once we're in a post-Switch 2 world. Markets seem to feel like everything will be different. But we'll talk about that more with the news after this. All right, like we mentioned before the break, Switch 2. We are mere days away from an official,
a countable number of hours.
It's official Switch 2. And for all intents and purposes, the full reveal of the Switch 2. Brad Shoemaker.
We certainly hope.
We hope.
If it's not, what the fuck are we doing?
So along those lines, we are getting the drips and drabs, as one would expect, leading up to this, of all the information that anybody could compile into leaks, rumors, speculation, but probably more cohesive as we get closer. What's our latest round of this? Maybe latest and last for this podcast. Last
chance for speculation and rumors before hopefully we know everything. Games, price, dates. Please, Nintendo, can you just tell us everything? Insider Gaming out of GDC is here with some details that they say they have learned from their time at the show.
Okay.
The big one,
talk, huh?
Yes. Like the big one, and the one that is like the most obvious, yes, it's right or no, it's not, is the release date, which they say is going to be in June. They say it will be out in June. I think that would probably make a decent amount of sense if next week is the full reveal.
I think that's absolutely correct, because it was not a long wind up for the Switch 1 either. And I feel like they have no reason to drag this out.
And it was delayed from last year by all accounts, right? Like reportedly this was going to be out last holiday, and it was pushed for like manufacturing and software development reasons. So not surprising that they'd be looking to get this thing out there.
Could believe it.
If it is June, then I would say next week is everything. Like it has to be. Actually, it extra has to be, because they're doing those consumer events not that long after the Direct, right? Like they're letting the public come play the thing.
I was going to say
not that long after the Wednesday stream, so they kind of have to say everything.
I guess you could, all right, I'm splitting hairs here and we're really getting down the speculation ding dong hole, but like
this is your last time in the ding dong hole, so I think you should make use of it.
It is your first time in the ding dong hole.
you have to ding dong.
You have to ding dong. But like I just imagine people being like, you ding dongs, but like I'm in the ding dong hole.
Let's do it. Could
you hold the price from this and like do the price in May and be like, here's the market, here's the price, especially here's the US price, because we have no idea what's going on in the US right now.
You could, you shouldn't.
Yeah, I don't see a lot to be gained from that at this point. Those tariffs aside, and also they need to start taking pre-orders at some point.
That's true. Yeah, so I guess you get everything.
Especially if it's out in 2 months, then they absolutely need to start getting pre-orders in and stuff.
Well, so June, what else is speculated?
The other thing is a little more nebulous, and there's been a little bit of conflicting opinion from other people on this. The way he presents this is Tom Henderson writing this story. Like, he's basically saying there's kind of going to be like a 3-tiered or like a 3-wave release plan for games for this thing, and that the launch games will be largely first party only.
I mean,
which not that different from like most Nintendo launches. I mean, the Switch, Ubisoft aside,
Ubisoft is kind of the one big glaring exception, but otherwise,
there
yes.
With 8 games at every console launch. But other than that, it was like my memory of the Switch 1 was mostly Nintendo games at launch. I'll just read what he's got here. Nintendo Switch 2 will launch its games in a 3-phase strategy, starting with primarily first-party games at launch. According to sources, the second stage will arrive in October or November for third-party studios, most of which are expecting the dev kits for the Switch 2 to be sent in June. I think that's the detail that people are mixed on, and I think maybe is just worded a little strangely. Finally, it was said that the third phase for games will be in the holiday period. And that's all it says about that. So who knows what that means? That could be your looking at the way the Switch 1 went. It was like Zelda and stuff at launch, and then Mario Odyssey for holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not be shocked if we're looking at something similar of like holding one of their big tentpole games back for holiday. It's the third parties are only getting dev kits in June thing that seems a little strange to me.
With like maybe a surface implication being like that's impossible to test your game on a dev kit and ship.
I mean, a lot of console launch games get developed on non-final dev kit hardware, with kind of final dev kits coming later that they adapt to as needed. But
that's still not a lot of time.
That's not a lot of time to get dev kits in June and be putting games out in October. Daniel Ahmad, who's he's a good follow on Twitter, and Blue Sky, noted video game analyst, responded to this saying the article doesn't do a great job of explaining that studios have had dev kits for a while and more studios will receive them in June.
Oh, okay.
So that seems a lot more sensible.
Third parties will get dev kits.
I'm guessing what it is Nintendo actually has just been extremely tight with dev kits, that they are only sending a few kits out to very select trustworthy developers for now.
And the developers probably are not bragging about having a dev kit.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I mean, looking at how much about new hardware has leaked out of developers with dev kits in the past on things like PS4 Pro and stuff like that, like, not super surprising that they're just being very skittish about things, but I definitely would think that some third parties have had hardware for a while. But also not surprised if a much bigger wave of them is if they're holding those until the thing is out on shelves.
I do wonder if with this console, I know a lot of stuff is leaked, a lot of stuff is rumored, a lot of stuff has been speculated on, if maybe development is similar to the Switch 1 and you can get targets from Nintendo about what they expect it to be and what performance to be, and maybe it's not as huge a transition from like a Wii U to a Switch, and maybe you can get some stuff, but you still want that final hardware.
Yeah, the lead specs are that it's just basically a much newer generation version of NVIDIA mobile hardware than the Switch 1 has, but very much, the same lineage of hardware. So yeah, I would not be shocked if people are at least have a decent idea what to expect.
We also live in an age where, you'll probably get, we assume, some ports over on this thing. We assume we'll get some first party upgrades, whatever fashion those will come. We've talked about it a lot. What are we going to do with our Breaths of the Wild? How are we going to be playing those? You think that comes in that first wave? You think that's part of their first party offering?
Oh, yeah. Any upgrades should be there at launch, ideally.
Should be. Oh, the path should be clear and you should be able to go at such an easier, but it's Nintendo. So you can't never say for certain, right?
Yeah,
but like
no guarantees, but I mean, like, launches generally you could always use more games.
Yeah.
So like if you can say, hey, you can play Tears of the Kingdom at 4K 60 now or whatever, like for relatively small investment, just to add that on to the story of, hey, here's all the cool stuff you can do with the Switch 2 on day one. Like they should have that in place.
I bet that's in the reveal next week, and I bet it's one of those things that is in the reveal without the pricing, and then a press release after says, like, hey, it's got a little asterisk at the bottom when they show it in the trailer of like, and you can play your old games here too, and like even with sometimes better frame rates. And then the press release says pricing may vary per upgrade or something,
Yeah.
But they should have that in the reveal along with the price and the date and 2 to 3 new first party games.
Yeah.
Let's count Mario Kart.
Honestly, I think minimum 3.
We already know about Mario Kart. Yeah, like at least if there are not at least 3 new games there, then what the fuck are we doing?
Like, our last
and re-releases
chance here.
don't count. Like if you're doing some kind of specific re-release thing, that's not specifically a new game.
If there is a new 3D Mario and it is coming out at holiday, just for the sake of argument, will they announce it here?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think so.
They'll
I think
tease
so.
it at the bare minimum. Tease.
Yes, I think they should absolutely. I mean,
Metroid?
it has to be far enough. Yeah, but Metroid is definitely a Switch 1 game. Oh, totally forgot to mention the other thing attached to this story is they just announced this morning there will be a Nintendo Direct tomorrow at the time of this recording.
Yes.
Focusing on Switch 1 games. I guarantee Metroid Prime 4 is part of that.
So
I don't guarantee it, but
well, it has to be because they literally have no other games lined up for the Switch 1.
Or the bigger point is Metroid Prime 4 is not going to become a Switch 2 exclusive, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think that's
like
going to happen.
That absolutely will remain a Switch 1 game that maybe it'll look better on your Switch 2.
Right. I would think, boy, if they announce Metroid Prime 4 tomorrow on this thing, because they have said no Switch 2 news, but they show that you think they're doing that now because it's in the footage for their release trailer for next week to be like, look, we show Metroid Prime 4 running on the Switch 2. We need to say it is a Switch 1 game. We need to have this information out there before not to say they're not shooting from the hip here. They have a plan, but I could see it. I could see them have like a play your Switch 1 games with full save transfers or whatever, and Metroid's on there because it's our latest hot thing that's popular. But yeah, I could see that rationale being like, this is a big Metro. My son will be super happy.
Yeah. I hope there's a good number of games next week. I would love to see like half a dozen new things.
Yeah.
Confirmed for launch or something.
I would love to see a Mario game, a new Mario game, mostly because, look, they always knock it out of the park with Mario games. Very rarely dedicated Mario games do they miss
Sunshine.
With me. Even I'll give it up for Sunshine. Like they're trying. But I'm curious where they take the formula. That's probably the biggest, like, where's Mario going to be now?
Yeah, like how much of Odyssey do they build off of, or are they doing something entirely different?
Odyssey was cool, but they've got to move on to a new formula.
Yeah.
Like it's just a little long in the tooth.
So look, we literally got a week left. We'll find out. And we'll see if all the things line up. $600 Switch 2 with Mario day 1. 5 controllers come in the box. New dock, doing 4K, 120.
Requires a 4K TV.
Comes with Rob the Robot for some reason.
You can take you can unmagnetize the sides of those things, stick them on the fridge if you want. We'll see what happens. That's the Switch 2 news. We will not be doing a live stream with the Direct tomorrow. That is not
not tomorrow's. No.
Yeah. So we're working on talking over the hardware reveal.
Yep.
Not for the one tomorrow.
Thanks Nintendo for scheduling that thing. It's 6 a.m. my time.
And on Alex's week off.
I'm coming.
Yeah. Look,
I'm still coming.
I'm the only
I'll
one
keep coming.
Who's going to be here anyway. I'll keep.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to be around. Of course I'm going to dial in for the fucking Switch thing. It's your time off,
and it's 6 a.m. in the morning for Brad. Those are two legitimate. Like, all right,
but I'm doing it.
Not the first. I fucking started streaming the Destiny launch at like 4 a.m, I think, or 5.
Ridiculous.
So it would not be the earliest stream I've ever done.
Ridiculous. Look, they got to get those pre-orders up. All right. Speaking of getting things back up, Game Informer.
Yeah, Game Informer came back.
Nothing's ever truly gone anymore.
Who saw this coming? I kind of did as of the last week because everybody that got laid off from Game Informer last year has been teasing the hell out of this on social media. But prior to that, like, man.
Yeah. Game Informer, legitimate institution in the video game.
I mean, the
coverage.
longest running game publication in the United States, right?
I think at this point, probably, I don't know, like there were definitely magazines older than it, but they all shut down quite a while ago. So it might be the longest running. I don't know.
So Brad, what can you tell us about what form this is taking on the comeback? Who, the what?
It's everybody that was working there has got their job back.
Well,
at the time of the closing.
the closing,
yes, when it closed,
because they had
last
laid
year.
some people off before that, and I think some of those people are not necessarily part of this new team.
Okay. Gunzilla Games bought the property. They bought the Game Informer name and everything from GameStop. Don't know much about the background there on that, but sounds like they're an independent outlet.
I think they may have been making some Web3 games.
I'm not super clear what the provenance is there, but Matt Miller, the EIC, says in here, like, hey, we're remaining an independent editorial outlet.
I have to imagine none of these people would have agreed to this if that was not like very clearly spelled out.
Yeah. Apparently they went and this is how you know they're serious about this. They continued reviewing games while they have not been a thing because the site is relaunching with a whole bunch of new reviews.
And the best of 2024,
yeah,
right?
and like they did a game of the year for last year that they didn't get to do in the first place, so they are serious about this.
Yeah.
They're saying they're going to bring back the print magazine later this year.
That's fun.
So wild, man.
Yeah.
That, I'm just going to say, they might be slightly overextending themselves by getting into straight up magazine publishing on top of everything else. Especially
since the previous version of the print magazine was underpinned by the GameStop like rewards stuff, like there was a huge alternate business model that was helping to increase circulation on the magazine. But this sounds like they're doing a really targeted, like community supported, audience supported thing. It's like very much targeted at people who love Game Informer and want it to exist. Because it sounds like they're going to have like more options for supporting them in the future.
Is there a place to? I know you can go sign up and go create an account and everything. Is there a way to see the pricing on the magazine? Like maybe they'll sell it for more because it's a premium thing that hopefully doesn't. Yeah,
I don't think they've said anything about what the business model is going to be there yet.
Okay,
but it sounds like you'll be able to even maybe support the website at different tiers and get more benefits type stuff.
Yeah, it's a different form than previous. You go read their FAQ. It's a different form. Like your accounts are not coming over. At least that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
This is.
But all the content is there,
which is cool.
Like I saw, like Dan was out there linking like 15-year-old content that he did.
Yep.
For Game Informer that is now back online. So
you want to go read a review for Assassin's Creed Shadow?
Yeah,
you can go check that out.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's an interesting experiment, like to take like a kind of August brand from the classic games media and go in this more kind of audience supported direction is cool to see.
Yeah. And meanwhile, GameStop is pivoting to buying a lot of crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sure, it's the next Funko Pop grift. It's that makes perfect sense to me.
Yep.
I believe Dan Reichert was out there on Blue Sky saying it would be a hell of a thing if Game Informer actually outlived its former parent company. And I don't know. That actually feels possible to me now.
Yeah. I mean, you can only survive so long as a meme stock.
Yep.
Good on them. I hope everything is. I saw their announcement video was well done. I hope everybody has a secure and fruitful time there. That stuff. Mm-hmm. Again, we know nothing about the owner, but I trust as much as anybody can the editorial team there to make the decisions that are best for them.
I trust that they would not have just jumped face first into this without making some very clear protections spelled out for them in this.
Yeah, and look, if you like Game Informer, go support them. So that's the best way to keep them going.
Yeah, like surprisingly positive week for games media news.
Yeah, what else you got here? There's another publication.
Yeah, Christopher Dring, formerly the head of GamesIndustry.biz, who we would cite periodically about games news. Or they're a trade rag, you might say. They're an industry publication. He is collaborating with Jeff Keighley to launch a new site called The Game Business, which sounds like it's very much in the exact same wheelhouse that GamesIndustry.biz is.
Yeah, B2B.
Yes, B2B, business, industry focused. Sounds like they're going to target a lot of lot of interviews with developers and business figures in that world, very much covering that same beat. It looks like they're also looking to do an event alongside Summer Game Fest, which again is where the Keighley connection would come in, called the Game Business Live.
Mm-hmm.
The Game Business Live.
Yeah, but it's just nice to see these publications not folding and coming back, or like being spiritually carried on under a new banner. In this case,
In this one, from the article you linked from Video Games Chronicle, it sounds like maybe Keighley is more the money man and the backer on this.
Yeah. And again, like I said, doing that business focused event in collaboration with his other event at Summer Game Fest.
I wonder if he'll be on any of the podcasting stuff, or
I don't know,
show up here and there, or will just be a kind of background.
Yeah, the site's up, so you can go look. I looked at it a little bit. It's definitely, like I said, very interview focused, very developer focused so far.
I did not look at the site. I should go. Oh, there it is. Oh,
there's a large Steven Totillo talking head right here in the top carousel.
Yeah, that's cool. Is there they have their writers on here?
I don't know how big it is. I'm not sure. I don't know if they have other staff besides Dring yet, but I would assume they're probably looking to expand.
I want to see if Brendan Sinclair has an article on here.
I don't think so. No, okay. Dring is the only one listed under people right now.
Okay.
I have one question about all of this.
Jeff,
when will it ever be enough?
Never.
How big must the empire grow?
Never. Well, he was not happy being the dean of games journalism.
No, clearly not. He needed to diversify. I can tell that, but it's just, man.
Look, if you're going to
everything,
if you're going to put your war chest back into gaming related things, this is one I can get behind.
No, I'm not mad at this at all. It's just Keighley again finds another place to insert himself into the larger scope of the industry.
I had the same thought when I saw the story on the news thing, being like, yes, the same thing, like, oh, the empire grows.
Mm-hmm.
What a interesting spot for a video game media mogul. This is just like a weird
He's the closest thing we've got to a genuine mogul.
Yeah, right. I can't wait to get on my video game version of like Blue Sky or Twitter. That is just, hey man, this is a chat just for video games. This is where things went. Next up here, we talked about the game. It seems like we're all enjoying it, but how about the financials of Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, I just threw this in here, and we don't trade in sales figures that much around here, but
they're also fairly unreliable generally.
Yes. I threw this in here mainly because Ubisoft's future seems so shaky right now, and so much seems to ride on the launch of this game and its success.
Mm-hmm.
Video Games Chronicle has gotten a look at some behind-the-scenes data, which they don't come out and spell out numerically, but more kind of relative to past performance. The gist of it basically is that Shadows is kind of tracking just behind Valhalla as the second biggest Assassin's Creed launch ever. Is generally what they're putting down here. I mean, they're looking at multiple figures from how well it did on the PlayStation Store to physical sales in the UK, I believe, is one of their data points. How much it was wish listed and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it's doing very well.
Yeah.
Is it doing well enough to satisfy their business needs? I cannot say. Like, there's been rumors flying around the last few weeks about like, they're looking at taking a lot more Tencent money, or maybe transferring ownership of some of these IPs to a Tencent-backed venture, or X, Y, and Z different business strategies they might be coming up with here. So sounds like it's doing very well, but the fact that it's down from its predecessor, I don't know.
There were some caveats I saw around of like, it's hard to, it's not apples to apples with Valhalla. The window of launch in March is different.
The non-pandemic aspect of it.
The pandemic is the bigger one. I don't know about timing so much these days, because look at like Monster Hunter Wilds just came out in February and was Capcom's biggest launch ever. So
Capcom loves a March.
Yeah, but the pandemic thing for sure, like it definitely, games in general got a big boost.
Like, I'm sure the boost for the holidays still exists on some level, but I also feel like it has never been, like, the structure of a year for video games has never been more flat. Like, it feels like you can release any kind of big game at any point in the year and probably do just fine. Maybe December is still a little bit of a no man's land, but beyond that, you can make anything work.
Yeah, or maybe more to the point, like a big enough franchise or a hyped enough game can overcome any other disadvantages.
Absolutely.
I mean, it sounds like this is doing quite well.
Yeah.
But, will it be doing well enough to let them stay fully independent? Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know what could,
Yeah, they're never going to clarify this because we're never going to know exactly how much money this game needed to make to save this company.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, they've been out there on their social media also talking about number of players and
also been out there on social media talking direct shit to Elon Musk.
they sure have.
Wait, really? I missed that.
Oh yeah. They seem. I think they will have gotten quite a lift out of that.
Yeah,
Oh,
their
wow.
social media team seems to be unrestrained at the moment.
Yes, they are a bit unhinged in a fun way.
Did Elon get one of the pieces of Eden? Is that what there's? Is he a Templar?
No, he was replying to Mark Kern. So honestly, like it's all very deserved.
I think Assassin's Creed has reinvigorated my interest in the franchise. So success there makes me want to go boot up Valhalla and Odyssey, but I shouldn't.
I thought about it, but no,
You don't
I
need
don't think
to.
so. I don't think that's a good
read
idea.
Wikipedia's about the plots. That's enough.
I think I might just. I think I really just want to boot them up and run around in Valhalla at least and see if it feels different.
Yes, I have been interested in it from that standpoint of just comparing, like, what does the world look like? How does it feel to run around in it? Like, what's the stealth
Mechanically,
like? Like, I'm just kind of curious how similar the new one is or not.
I mean, that's fair. I'll just say outside of like stance stuff, a lot of the running around in combat feels very similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who knows? Maybe when I find myself with that extra 100 hours after I go back and I play the other Pillar of Eternity games, Valhalla and Odyssey. We got it. All right.
Those are your retirement games.
Those, yeah, right.
Mhm.
I saw this is some random person. I have no idea who they were on Twitter responding to the Assassin's Creed account with a screenshot of they have gotten every single achievement in every Assassin's Creed game ever made.
It's pretty sick, man.
It's like 20 games or something.
That's pretty sick.
That should be enough to get you into an Assassin's Creed game, right? Like that should be the kind of thing you reward someone for that.
Is that
Like, it was just a straight up list of like, it was a shot of their Xbox profile or whatever. It just like 1,000 out of 1,000 on every game.
Where's the meme? Okay, we need the meme of that screenshot now standing in Split Fiction with Josef Fares clapping. Just let me like, even our studio couldn't do this.
Even we couldn't stand to play our own games that long.
Congratulations. Good job. To the
Give them a speaking role in the next game.
yeah. Or name an achievement after them when you like get some sick achievement. All right. Finally here, Brad, I'll let you introduce this last story.
I'm just going to send this one over to Alex. There are indications that Big Rigs is coming to Steam. What do you
Thoughts? Yeah.
All right, look. This was floated to me the second this listing went up. I had numerous people adding me in various places about it. I understand the instinct for that, by the way. Not upset about it, but this is so fucking baffling to me. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's not baffling in the sense that, of course, someone would do this as like, oh, we got this cheap. I bet this will make some good irony money. Like, sure. Okay, I see how you get there. The problem is you are doing this maybe 10 years beyond when anyone would have thought that was funny.
You think?
Yeah.
You don't think it's evergreen? You don't think whenever they choose to do this is an event unto itself?
No, I don't, because
Okay.
I think that nugget has mostly been squeezed dry outside of occasional like stuff like, that game showing up and during the awful block at games done quick and stuff. That's always a fun time. Like I can laugh and like enjoy that on some level. But just like the drained blood from the bad video game, like between me and the angry video game nerd and everything else, like it's dead. Like the joke is dead. It's why I don't bring it up all the time anymore, because there's nothing else to be wrung from it. It's a shitty game. Some very morally questionable people decided to put out at one point in their life, and then fucking that's it.
I didn't know there were questions around.
Oh, I don't know. I say morally questionable. I mean, just any company that would willingly put that shit in a box and sell it to people for $20 clearly have no scruples whatsoever.
I thought you were trying to say this game was like funded by organized crime or something.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Sergei Titov was up to back then. Maybe some of that shit wasn't on the up and up. I don't know.
I didn't realize that the store page is up. It's actually, there is a store page now. In fact, they're going to sell the soundtrack along with the game.
There is no soundtrack. It's a song.
Maybe you really want to own that song.
Okay, it's like 2 songs, but still.
Look, okay, aside, what if they put it up for free?
They're not.
They're
super not.
No, they're pushing adding it to your wish list and coming out in Q2 and everything.
I'm trying to find Marguerite Entertainment.
It's not, it's a new thing. Like, clearly.
It's a brand new company page on Steam.
This is absolutely some like hastily set up holding company for somebody who, as a joke, hit up Game Mill Publishing and were like, hey, is this shit for sale? And when they said yes, they were like, shit, should I do this?
Well, hey, here, how about this? What if it's like weird and broken in exciting new ways? What if the Steam port harbors secrets that you don't know about yet?
So that's worse.
What if this release is actually more broken?
No, see, that's worse to me because what you are doing is not actually preserving the thing as it was. You should preserve the exact ways in which it was broken if you're going to do it. If you were just doing an even jankier port of an already basically non-functional video game, then you should go to jail.
Fair. I do appreciate that the users on Steam have tagged this game with racing and psychological horror.
Yeah.
Okay.
Their post that Marguerite Entertainment, like they put up a post and they were like, hey, this wasn't actually supposed to get out there yet. This is not our official announce or anything. We recently secured the rights to some classic games. Is how they are framing what they are doing here.
Mm-hmm. I see.
Some classic games.
Okay. Well, there you go. Q2. Maybe it's a Switch 2 launch game.
You can stop this. You don't have to go forward with this. I don't know what you paid. It wasn't worth it, whatever it was. But you have the chance here to finally say, okay, we end this line now.
I like how you're looking into the camera as if they can hear you addressing
you're connecting with the people.
It's just what I'm used to doing when I need to talk to the audience. Anyway, my point is, you have the chance to end the bloodline now. You can stop the curse. You can just say, no, it's not funny anymore.
What if they've got big plans for the franchise and they're going to make a big rigs too?
Then you should go to maximum security jail.
Would you be honored? I know there's nothing honorable about this. Okay, I know you hate the whole thing. Would you be okay if they put on Steam your video review as one of the videos?
I will literally sue them. I will get a lawyer. Keep me out your fucking mouth.
Okay.
Only the Games Done Quick people are allowed to beat this joke continually. They are the only ones who have earned the right.
So what you're saying is, don't buy this game.
Don't play this game.
Don't play this game.
Under any circumstances. Listen, do whatever you fucking want. I'm just saying, don't support this bullshit.
Okay. Last question from me.
Okay.
Would you be impressed if this game came out at $60?
Yeah, I'd actually have to admire the chutzpah a little bit. Just like a little bit, because that's 3 times what it cost when they released it.
Yeah, okay. Like, right. If $20 is insulting, from 20 to 60, I think is insulting. Once you hit 60, okay, a little respect. All right, you took the grift real far.
I don't know if I've ever told this part of the story before, but I will just say this very quickly. When I wrote that review and I submitted it as a 1.2 and not a 1.0, and it was literally a value 2. And the only reason I gave it a value 2, it was 2 reasons. One, it was $20, And 2, I was terrified to be the first person to ever give a 1.0. And as soon as that thing went through edit, everyone came to me like fucking Andrew and Jeff and all of them.
Okay.
And they said, no, dude, no.
If Andrew said the score needed to go down, then it needed to go down.
There was no question among anyone in the senior staff about whether that should be a 1.0 or not.
Is it the only 1.0?
It was at the time. I think they have done some since then, but at the time it was the first one.
Fantastic. Do you I know this gets attributed to you a lot, but do you still feel like it is one of the worst commercially released games out there? There's so much slop now, you know?
I mean, I think outside of something that is just morally reprehensible, like Custer's Revenge or something, yes, I think it is actually maybe the single worst video game anyone has put in a box and sold in stores.
Put in a box, right? Printed to a disc and put in a box.
I mean, I think that's got to be the dividing line here, right? Because I mean,
there's all this Steam shovelware and all this other garbage that is probably equally bad.
Yeah, let's be real. There are probably games worse than this coming out weekly on Steam at this point.
Yeah,
right. Asset flips,
but nobody takes them seriously as games they should buy at all, let alone for actual money in a store in a box.
Yeah. It was just a different market also back then because there wasn't a digital, like this is absolutely the kind of thing that would have ended up on Steam as just shovelware, you know?
Yeah, nobody would have, the idea
of being on a store shelf wasn't really special back then, but at the same time it was, you know, someone went to that trouble. They printed boxes. They fucking wrote that copy, which was mostly lies.
Who put it on your desk?
Greg Kasavin.
He did? Did he find it?
He took a random trip to Walmart, grabbed a bunch of PC shovelware that they didn't send, that like companies didn't send us, and was just like handing it out like fucking candy. There's like 2 or 3 of those games like that on my desk at the same time. I think that was the first one I grabbed.
Great. Wow. Q2 2025 is this. I'm gonna
Don't play this fucking game.
I'm gonna add it to our database so we can track that release date. That is the news. Now it's time for the email.
Yeah, I'm gonna say probably email because I'm gonna start with this one, but it's gonna be a long one, so it might be our only one.
All right.
Okay.
Where did they send this email?
Oh, sorry. They probably sent it. I assume they would send it if it made it to us to podcast@nextlander.com. That is podcast@nextlander.com. podcast@nextlander.com.
Can confirm that is the address they sent it to.
Great.
Chase in Cleveland. This is a follow-up from last week. Listening to your talk on last week's podcast about which bands are and are not grunge.
I knew this was gonna be the one you picked.
Yes, I asked Apple Music to play, quote, 90s grunge.
Okay.
And I would like you to determine if the bands it played are, in fact, grunge or not.
Okay.
Let's just go down the line here.
As we are the grunge authorities, let's do it.
Stone Temple Pilots. I would say probably yes.
They're the most grunge-inspired of the LA bands that came up in the alternative scene. I think whether they are explicitly grunge, they can lay a claim to it.
Sure.
Okay.
But yeah, they are SoCal, right?
They are I think they're an LA band.
Interesting. Dishwalla?
No.
I don't know. I probably could name a Dishwalla song at one time in my life, but not now.
No,
maybe
that's like
a few bars.
Dishwalla is like borderline adult contemporary alternative rock.
They're from Santa Barbara.
Yeah, Dishwalla was on A&M Records when A&M Records was trying to sign my band. That's one of the only reasons I know who they are.
Oh, Counting Blue Cars, that's them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Counting Blue Cars is like the least grunge song in the world.
Absolutely not. Yes, absolutely not.
Like, what else is on this list? Is like fucking Vertical Horizon on there? What are we doing?
Local H.
Don't know them.
I know Local H very well. They're in the ballpark, but I'd say they're more alternative rock. They're also part of like that Midwest Chicago thing, if I remember correctly, and that's kind of a separate thing from grunge.
Okay. Live.
No.
Not really, no.
That's
Is that alternative?
rock. That's just straight up alternative
yes.
rock.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Should we name a song for each of these? Just for people to jog their memories?
Live is like the, what is it, the Dolphins Cry?
Lightning Crashes.
Lightning
Is
Crash.
that the name of the song?
Discussion.
Throwing Copper is the album?
That's the big album of theirs, yeah.
Lightning Crashes is the name of the song.
Local H is like Bound for the Floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that one, right?
High Five and Motherfuckers.
Yes, right. Okay, Helmet. Maybe?
Ooh. So Helmet is...
Adjacent?
Helmet's a weird one. They absolutely came up during the grunge time, but they are a little bit more hardcore and metal adjacent than straight up grunge.
Yes. Yeah. But like, I mean, aren't they the actual Seattle area?
No, they're New York.
Are they really?
I think they were a New York band, if I remember correctly.
I did not know that. Yeah, you're right. New York City. Soul Asylum. I'm going to say yeah.
I could see the argument at least. I wouldn't necessarily categorize them that way, but I could see it.
Okay. Better Than Ezra.
That's a dicey one.
Help me out here. What is like a lot of these bands had like one single, right? Like one big song that was on the radio a lot, and that was kind of it.
What was the one?
I'm trying to think of a Better Than Ezra song.
I don't know. If you name it, I might recognize it. I recognize the band.
Good was their big single.
Good?
Wow, wow, it's good. I barely know that fucking song, honestly.
Yeah, no, I totally know that song.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think they're grunge.
No, that's also just kind of mid-90s alternative rock, right?
Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Rage Against the Machine, no.
Not even close.
Not even remotely. Superchunk.
Oh.
They're more like pre-alt, pre-grunge, like indie rock, right?
Yeah.
Like
they're
like
college rock.
Yeah, yes, college indie rock, like Archers of Loaf style, right?
Yeah. College rock is not the same thing as grunge.
Yeah, very much not. Guided by Voices, I would kind of say the same thing, right?
Yeah, totally. They are 100% that. And also, God, somehow they are still going.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's still just the dude, right?
Yeah, and they still put out like 2 or 3 albums a year.
Yeah. Is he still a school teacher?
That I don't know. I have not followed like his personal trials and tribulations, but I just know they're still out there.
I've barely ever heard any Guided by Voices, but I always heard that he was like a teacher by day and just like would like get up and write a song or two before class every day or something.
Insanely prolific.
Yes, just can't stop. Let's see. Dinosaur Jr., like, yeah.
I think so. After thinking, because that was one that came up the last time we talked about this. I think despite them being a Massachusetts band, I think they are probably the closest thing to grunge of any of the bands we have discussed here.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can see that. Flaming Lips? Nah. No. Like, I don't know what kind of
they're all over the place.
Like
they're more like Ween than they are grunge.
Yes. Yeah, I saw them open for Ween, as a matter of fact. That was a fun show. Mudhoney. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's at least that scene.
Yeah. But I think Mudhoney was like a big inspiration for a lot of like the big actual grunge bands we talked about last week, right?
So I would definitely put them in that categorization.
Okay, I don't know a lot of Urge Overkill, but what I have heard is they're almost more like lounge rock.
Yeah, they're a weird one. I don't know that I would call them grunge, but I think they played with a lot of grunge bands, so I could see how that ended up there.
Yeah. Tonic.
Fuck no.
Struggling to remember a Tonic song now.
I think they were also on A&M Records around the time that they were trying to sign us, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yes, absolutely not. They're extremely like radio friendly alt rock, right?
That's fucking Secretary rock, man.
If You Could Only See is the first song that comes up.
Yeah.
Like I know that song definitely. That was on the radio constantly.
I don't even hate that song, but that they are the softest fucking band of all the ones you have just mentioned.
Yeah, probably or close to it, right up there with Dishwalla.
Yeah.
L7.
Okay.
I think they're in that ballpark, right?
I think you have to decide whether the Riot Girl movement is part of the grunge thing or not. I think that some parts of the Riot Girl movement absolutely are, and I think L7 is in that category.
Oh, they're from LA. I didn't realize. Silverchair, I think.
Oh my God, I haven't heard.
Yeah, 100%.
That's been a long time.
Pretty directly, right?
They're
Australian.
They're Australian.
Also, they were like 15 years old when that band got big, or
like
16 or something.
I think,
oh my gosh, I haven't heard anybody say Silverchair. I think I just digested a fat pocket. Holy cow!
I think that band got back together at some point.
Yeah,
really.
I think they are still going.
Also, Tomorrow is still actually a pretty good song.
Yeah.
Primus.
No, they're funk metal.
Yeah, sure. Candlebox.
Yeah, they are. So Candlebox.
I remember
Candlebox-
liking Candlebox.
I don't think I
Candlebox
know
is the
Candlebox at all.
GoBots to like fucking Pearl Jam's Transformers. Like, but
That's fair. It's a little
but-
cruel, but fair.
Wow.
Yeah.
but they
Very
are in that
evocative.
scene. They are that.
Like that's very evocative. I know exactly what you mean when you
Yeah.
say that. I can't think of a Candlebox song though.
Oh, they had one big hit.
Is it far behind?
Far
by
Behind.
any
Yeah, Far
chance?
Behind was their big hit. That song's okay.
I don't remember that. I'll have to pull that up.
Man, that's wow.
Was that the last one?
No. 7 Mary 3.
No, that's getting into like you are almost in butt rock territory at that point.
Okay. The Breeders is more of like a Pixies spin-off.
That's
to
more
me.
post
Like
punk, I think.
they're
Yeah.
they're more in that like Boston scene, college rock type thing, right?
Yeah.
A little bit. Babes in Toyland.
That's kind of in that same Riot Girl
Yeah,
thing.
they're up there with L7, right?
I'd say they're in the neighborhood at least.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's the list that Apple Music spit out.
I'm kind of shocked. There was one I was thought they might mention, Moist, the Canadian
Oy.
band.
Hmm.
Does no one
I
else
gotta-
remember that? That was it. I
No.
think. What the hell was they had one single same time around Candlebox. I feel like was getting that hit. They were very Canadian. That's all I remember about them. And their lead singer had a very like that kind of singing. Anyway, yes, they are grunge despite being Canadian.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Speaking of wet things, Puddle of Mud. Remember them?
Again, that is straight up, but that is like you have wiped your ass and here's some rock.
How about okay. My music genre stuff is all over the place.
Also,
so
by the way, this is all just my opinion. I want to be clear. I'm not
I
trying to
trust
make
your
like
opinion.
hard limits for any of this stuff.
what's a Danzig generally?
A mistake.
Aw.
No, I'm joking. I have a certain amount of love for Danzig. Danzig is kind of his own thing. I mean, he came up, he was the singer for the Misfits. Like he is from the punk era, but then he became much more of a self-parody of a riff heavy metal guy.
Okay.
Isn't he kind of off in conspiracy land, or did I dream that up?
I don't know if he's a conspiracy guy. He's just kind of a cantankerous person. That's
Okay.
really his whole thing, is that he's just sort of disagreeable.
Okay. I don't know why I don't get him and Henry Rollins mixed up, but I always think of them in the same vein. I'm not saying the music is the same, but like muscly dudes who fronted bands with their shirts off.
Sure.
Yeah. And like a very specific kind of projected masculinity on stage and things like that.
That's what it is.
So much so that there was a comic series that my partner used to read called Henry and Glenn that was just an imagination of them together.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go then.
I heard it was pretty well done.
All right.
I think I like Henry Rollins slightly better because he's less of a grumpy dumbass, I think.
Henry Rollins is the thinking man's Glenn Danzig.
Yeah. And again, there are some limits with Henry Rollins, but I think he is generally a lot sharper.
Sure.
Am I misremembering, or is Danzig, is he a fairly shorter, is he on the shorter side?
He has a little of the Napoleon thing going on, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had like a pretty deep voice, right? For
Mother.
Yeah, right.
Hold my hand.
Not quite who's the people, the Crash Test Dummies?
Oh, the Crash Test Dummies. No one's
Oh,
going to beat him.
I listened to that song for the first time in like 30 years a couple weeks ago. It came up on YouTube.
Mhm.
How's that hold up?
It's
It's a dumb song.
It's a real time and place thing. I'll tell you that.
Are
Like,
the
it
rest
very much feels like, okay, I never had a strong opinion of the song to begin with, but boy, can I see exactly why this was popular, exactly when it was.
The only times that song could have been popular were when it was in the mid 1970s.
Sure.
Those are the only times that song would have broke through on the radio.
Well, I'm glad nobody else knows what grunge is, especially not what was it? Apple? Was it an Apple playlist or
That was Apple Music.
Apple Music.
That's literally just 90s alternative radio. What they describe. They are not doing the work.
I wonder if that depends. Is that like part of a subscription thing? Like, is that what's in their catalog that they can play as part of their subscription thing, or is it pulled from other services you have?
The email was worded almost such that I wondered if they asked verbally, like if they actually just like asked Siri to assemble an Apple Music playlist or something. I don't know.
Yeah, because like how do you just not wind up with like Pearl Jam in there somewhere? Right. Like
Like none of the actual prominent grunge bands we talked about last week made it in there somehow.
Well, I assume that they weren't mentioning them because they are definitively grunge. Like if they got no Pearl Jam stuff, then they really fucked up.
I don't know. I mean, the wording was, this is the playlist it gave me, so I don't know.
Also, that's fairly long. You were listening to that list for, that's like what, like 45 minutes? Maybe, maybe
not a single grunge song was had.
Right. All right. Thanks for the email. That was that Chase?
Yes.
Thanks for the email, Chase. We're going to wrap it up. I'm going to see if I can wrap this up. I've got 11 minutes left on this drive on here on the recording time. Let's see if I can get this thing together in 11 minutes. Folks, I want to thank everybody for listening to us. We've got a bunch of stuff going up on the Patreon this Friday. Should hopefully have a Never Been a Better podcast going up. That is my plan. That is the end of the month. So get cooking, Caravella. Get that thing up. We'll have a Planorama next week. We will have Watchcast on a bit of a break. Yes, Alex?
Yes, we are off of the Watchcast for the next 2 weeks. The schedule, however, for what's going up in April will be up, if not this week, then certainly early next. And it will be our documentaries trio.
Yes, and you can check that out over at the Patreon, patreon.com/Nextlander, where you'll find Never Been a Better podcast, where you'll find the Planorama, where you'll find Vinny and Mike Destroy the World, or Mike and Vinny Destroy the World, whichever one you want. We are up to our second episode there. We're going on our Warhammer 3 adventure or Total War Warhammer. I'm just going to call it Total Warhammer.
Yeah, sure.
It's just so much easier. It's a lot of fun. Go check that out on the Patreon. Patreon.com/Nextlander. Whole bunch of stuff going on there. A Watchcast, all that stuff I just mentioned. You can find a tier that is right for you. There is one tier there that gets their names read on this here show. It's the Mysterious Benefactor tier. I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to read those names for you right now. Starting with Sean Miller, RRE, Alpha Rhythm, Infelicitous Rips, David L., Kelly F., Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, NXL Retirement Fund, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, Jerry Lee, Deidre finally bought a new bed. Congratulations. Gary Pejke, Robert Fisher, and the rest. Bunny F1 End, Bunny Fiend with the F1 in there. Jadarita, Statics, Brian Murphy, Randy Duwax, Randy Alderston, Andrew Teepkin, Alex Wu, Inme JP, Edward Chick, Andrew Slotsky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, Amanda Hugginkiss, and Tyler Treese.
Good Lord, man.
That was really stressful.
Yeah, it was.
Dude, we got 2 Randys consecutively now?
Oh, yeah. They're out there. These are the Mysterious Benefactors. Thanks to our Mysterious Benefactors out there. Thanks to everybody for supporting us, listening. Patreon.com/Nextlander. If you haven't checked it out, go see what's going on. Will Smith has been joining us on Mondays to go jump into a bunch of different multiplayer stuff. This week we got into 33 Immortals.
Yeah, he might be back on Friday from the looks of things.
Might be back on Friday.
Maybe.
We got a Patrons Choice poll up there now. You can go vote. Everything's a winner. So go vote on that. And I put some console typing games in there, which I really like. I don't know how those do on a on a stream. We don't do them a lot because sometimes
yeah, the poll is tighter than you would think. That one is not too far from the lead.
Maybe I'll check those out another time. If it doesn't win, we'll go through some of those. There was a couple of things on there I really wanted to see. But Will Smith has been joining us on Mondays. Abby's been joining us on Tuesdays. Alex, you're going to be out next week on for the Tuesday stream, and actually Abby will be not there. So we're going to come back to the adventures of Alex Hill at a later date. So we'll have a little bit something different going on. But check that stuff out. And we couldn't do it without your support. We can't have these fine people just come in with no compensation. No, it is their time. It is the beauty of their charm and their experience that we want to compensate, and we can't do that without your help. So patreon.com/Nextlander to go support us and the folks that help us out. Thanks everybody for listening. Check everything out. Like we said, on Friday, we'll have a Patron's Choice going up. And then next week, our plan is to catch that, in addition to everything else, to catch that a Nintendo Direct or reveal, whatever. Are they calling it a Direct for that?
I don't know if they're using the word Direct. I don't think they are, actually.
Okay. Yeah, whatever they're doing, our plan is to check it out live. So,
no, they are calling it a Nintendo Direct.
Okay. So yeah, look for that. I guess around 9 Eastern-ish for that reveal. Maybe it'll be 15 minutes. Maybe it'll be 45 minutes. No idea, really, at this point. But that's going to do it for our show. Thank you very much, Alex Navarro. Enjoy your time off.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming in for that Nintendo Direct in advance.
Happy to do it, honestly.
Brad Shoemaker, I will see you next week on this here podcast.
Yes.
Along with the rest of the stuff. We'll actually, all of us will be off the week after that, by the way. So, and we'll have our usual week off schedule going up. More on that later. Clock is ticking here on this recording. I can slow down a second. There it is. Now I got to speed it back up again. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back next week.